Did you know that some African kingdoms rivaled European powers in wealth and influence centuries before the colonial era? But how much of what we see about them on screen is true? Today, we are diving deep into the cinematic representations of African empires, separating fact from fiction, and exploring how film shapes our understanding of the past. We'll examine empires like Mali, Songhai, Benin, Ashanti, Ethiopia, and Congo through the lens of cinema, both African and Western. We will also analyze how these movies can challenge or reinforce colonial narratives. Let's begin with the Mali Empire, founded around 1235 by Sundiata Keita. Its peak came under Mansour Musa, whose legendary pilgrimage to Mecca in 1324 to 1325 stunned the world with its display of wealth. Mansour Musa's reign is often depicted in art and literature, but rarely with the nuance it deserves. Film has begun to engage with his story, but the challenge remains to move beyond simplistic portrayals of opulence. Next, we turn to the Songhai Empire, which rose to prominence in the 15th century. Under Askia Muhammad I, cities like Gao, Timbuktu, and Jen flourished as centers of trade and learning. The empire's collapse after the 1591 Moroccan invasion at the Battle of Tondeba is a stark reminder of the fragility of power. Imagine the cinematic potential of Timbuktu, a city synonymous with knowledge, being caught in the crossfire of imperial ambitions. Few films have truly captured the complexities of Songhai, leaving a gap for future storytellers. Let's travel south to the Benin Empire, also known as the Kingdom of Benin, traditionally dated to the 11th century. Benin City, its capital, was a marvel of engineering and art, famous for its intricate bronzes and sophisticated palace system. Obayuwe the Great, a 15th century ruler, is credited with expanding the kingdom's power and influence. The Benin bronzes, looted by the British in 1897, are now at the center of restitution debates, a powerful symbol of colonial plunder. The story of Benin is a compelling narrative about art, power, and the enduring legacy of colonialism. The Ashanti Empire, formed in the early 18th century, presents another fascinating case study. Ose Tutu, the empire's founder, united various Akan groups, and Kumasi became its political and cultural heart. Ya Asantewa, a formidable military leader, led the War of the Golden Stool in 1900, a powerful act of resistance against British rule. Imagine a film depicting this conflict, showcasing the courage and strategic brilliance of Ya Asantewa. Ethiopia's Solomonic Empire holds a unique place in African history, boasting one of the continent's longest continuous imperial traditions. Menelik II's victory over Italy at the Battle of Odwa in 1896 became a symbol of anti-colonial resistance worldwide. Ethiopia's story is one of resilience, faith, and unwavering determination to maintain its sovereignty. Now, let's consider the Congo Kingdom, which thrived from the 14th century onwards. Its early contact with Portugal in 1483 marked the beginning of a complex relationship, with King Afonso I attempting to navigate the challenges of trade and cultural exchange. The story of Congo is a cautionary tale about the allure and perils of engagement with European powers. African cinema has grappled with these histories in diverse and compelling ways. Ousmane Sembène, often called the father of African cinema, used film as a tool for decolonization, challenging European narratives and reclaiming African agency. His films, such as Emitai, Sedo, and Camp de Tairoy, address themes of resistance, slavery, and the complexities of pre-colonial and colonial power structures. Emitai explores anti-colonial resistance in Senegal. Sedo delves into the clash of Islam, Christianity, and traditional belief systems. Camp de Tairoy exposes the brutal massacre of African soldiers by French colonial authorities. Djibril Diop Mambéty, another Senegalese filmmaker, offered sharp social critiques through films like Haïns, which, while not strictly historical, powerfully embody anti-colonial sentiment. Medhondo Soleil and West Indies examined the experiences of African migrants in France and the legacy of slavery, respectively. Haile Jeremiah Sankofa explores slavery, memory, and diaspora identity. And Abderrahmane Sissoko's Timbuktu, while set in modern times, resonates deeply with Sahelian historical memory, reminding us of the region's rich intellectual and cultural heritage. In recent years, Nollywood and other African film industries have produced historical epics that explore pre-colonial kingdoms, slavery, and royalty. The Woman King, while a Hollywood production, draws inspiration from the Dahomey Amazons and the Kingdom of Dahomey. These films often present African perspectives on the past, challenging Eurocentric narratives and promoting a sense of cultural pride. However, it's crucial to remember that African historical cinema is not just about the past. It's about who controls memory, who gets to narrate history, and how colonial archives have distorted African agency. Many African historical films are really working as historical counter-archives, not just entertainment. The African past on screen includes internal African conflict, not just resistance to Europe. Films also deal with internal slavery systems, religious conflict, state expansion, and elite complicity. The transatlantic slave trade is often depicted as a system involving African intermediaries. Some African elites and states participated in the capture and sale of enslaved people. This is a reason why films on slavery can become controversial in African and diaspora debates. The term empire in African cinema often means both African empires and colonial empires. In film discourse, empire may refer to pre-colonial African imperial states like Mali, Songhai, Benin, Ethiopia, Ashanti, and Dahomey, as well as European colonial empires like France, Britain, Portugal, Belgium, Germany, and Italy. The 1897 British looting of Benin is one of the most important visual history stories in African cultural memory. The destruction of cultural sovereignty is highly visual, and the looting has become a major subject of museum politics, documentaries, and heritage debates. African empire films changed the question from, did Africans have history, to, who owns African history? For much of the colonial era, African societies were falsely portrayed as lacking state formation, diplomacy, literature, law, architecture, and military organization. Films about Mali, Songhai, Benin, Ethiopia, Ashanti, and Dahomey directly challenged that racist colonial assumption. They helped restore African political memory and helped audiences see African rulers as strategic statesmen, African women as political actors and military leaders, and African cities as centers of scholarship and trade. Ultimately, African historical cinema is important in Pan-African cultural politics, anti-colonial education, diaspora identity formation, and debates on reparations and restitution. By exploring the complexities of African empires and their interactions with the world, these films contribute to a richer, more nuanced understanding of the past and its enduring impact on the present. The story of African empires on film is far from complete, but it's a story that demands to be told and retold, ensuring that African voices are at the center of their own history.